Welcome, gents. The truth may be buried, but it never stays dead. In the shadows of every lie, there's always someone watching, waiting for it to slip. Sigma males, those enigmatic lone wolves of society, are the ones you never want to deceive. While they may seem indifferent or aloof, they possess a heightened instinct for detecting dishonesty, like hunters stalking prey in a dark forest. And when they know they're being lied to, it sets off a silent storm of calculated moves, psychological tactics, and unnerving silence. Studies show that body language reveals the truth more often than words, but when it comes to Sigma males, they go beyond mere gestures. They master the mind games, dissecting every subtle cue. What happens when they discover the lie? It's not what you expect. What unfolds is a game of psychological chess where the liar may not even realize they've lost until the final piece is in place. At number 1, they will pretend to be oblivious, the eye of the storm. When Sigma males know they're being lied to, their first move is not what you'd expect. Instead of calling out the lie or showing any sign of suspicion, they act as if they haven't noticed a thing. They'll smile, nod, and go along with the conversation as if they're completely oblivious. But don't mistake this for ignorance. Every word spoken, every detail in the liar's story is being cataloged, analyzed, and stored for later use. What makes this behavior so powerful is that it allows the Sigma to control the situation without tipping off the other person. By pretending they're unaware, they give the liar a false sense of security. The liar feels confident, thinking they've gotten away with it, which only encourages them to dig themselves deeper. All the while, the Sigma remains calm and composed, watching as the lie unfolds further. An example of this could be a simple work situation. A colleague might try to take credit for a project that the Sigma knows they barely contributed to. Instead of jumping into a confrontation or trying to correct the story right away, the Sigma lets them have their moment. They listen, let the lie play out, maybe even congratulate the colleague. In that moment, the Sigma is gathering all the information they need. They're watching how others react, noting inconsistencies in the story and preparing for when it's time to strike. What makes this approach so effective is that it's not driven by emotion. The Sigma isn't flustered or offended by the lie. They see it as an opportunity. By staying under the radar, they keep control and stay 10 steps ahead. It's a mental game, and the Sigma is always ready to play. Number 2, strategic questioning, the invisible interrogation. When a Sigma male knows he's being lied to, he doesn't jump straight into accusations. Instead, he begins to ask questions, but not just any questions. These are carefully crafted strategic ones designed to uncover the truth without making it obvious. The beauty of this technique lies in its subtlety. The questions seem harmless, casual even, but each one is calculated to pull apart the liar's story piece by piece. The liar might not even realize what's happening, but with each response, they're tightening the noose around their own lie. The Sigma's goal isn't to trap someone right away. Instead, he's focused on creating enough small inconsistencies to make the liar stumble without knowing why. It's a slow, methodical process that requires patience and control. For instance, if someone lies about their whereabouts the previous night, the Sigma male won't immediately ask for specifics. He'll start with broad questions like, "How was your evening?" or "What did you get up to?" These seem like innocent inquiries, but they're designed to set the tone. As the liar answers, the Sigma quietly takes mental notes of any hesitation or odd details. Then, later in the conversation, he might circle back to more detailed questions like, "Did you catch that show you mentioned?" or "Who else was there?" These are simple enough, but they force the liar to remember details and stick to their story. A good liar might be able to cover their tracks initially, but the Sigma's strategy is long-term. He's looking for minor cracks, things that don't line up or details that change slightly over time. For example, imagine a coworker claiming they worked late on a project alone. The Sigma doesn't immediately accuse them of lying. Instead, he starts asking general questions about how the work went, what parts were difficult, or when they wrapped up. A few days later, he might casually bring up the topic again, maybe even in front of other colleagues, asking for more specifics. The liar, now relaxed from the lack of immediate suspicion, might start to slip, forgetting what they said before or adding unnecessary details. This is where the Sigma's strategic questioning shines. It exposes the lie without ever seeming like a direct interrogation. By the end of it, the liar often realizes they've been outsmarted, but too late to recover. The Sigma, with his calm, controlled approach, has not only uncovered the truth, but has done so without creating a scene. The beauty of this method is that it allows the Sigma to stay in control, letting the liar reveal their own guilt while he maintains his cool, detached demeanor. Number 3. They become the silent observer, the quiet storm. When a Sigma male knows someone's lying to him, one of his most powerful moves is simply becoming the silent observer. He pulls back, stops engaging as much, and lets the liar do all the talking. It's like hitting the mute button on his own emotions and reactions, but still watching every detail. What's happening here is that the Sigma male is letting the liar expose themselves. Instead of interrupting, debating, or reacting, he just watches, patiently letting the truth unravel in its own time. The liar, sensing no immediate threat, often feels encouraged to keep talking because silence is uncomfortable and people tend to fill it with words. And the more they talk, the more they reveal, often without even knowing it. The Sigma male's lack of response creates an awkward void, and most liars feel the need to keep explaining, justifying, or adding unnecessary details to make their story sound more convincing. That's where the beauty of this tactic lies. The liar doesn't realize they're being scrutinized while they nervously babble away, trying to plug holes in a sinking ship. What makes this even more interesting is that during this silence, the Sigma isn't just sitting there doing nothing. He's piecing everything together. Facial expressions, body language, the tone of voice. He's reading all the unspoken signs. The liar might think they're on safe ground, but in reality, they're giving away everything. The Sigma knows that people's words and their actions rarely match up when they're lying, and he's tuned into these signals like a detective with super-sensitive radar. There's a bit of humor here, too. The liar, trying their hardest to convince the Sigma male, doesn't realize that they're giving away far more in their nervous rambling than they ever could have with a simple lie. It's almost as if the Sigma is watching them dig their own grave, shovel by shovel, without ever having to say a word. And that's the quiet genius of the Sigma male. He doesn't need to confront or challenge right away. He just sits back and lets the liar talk themselves into a corner. An example could be a friend who's lied about borrowing money. The Sigma won't press them right away. Instead, the next time they hang out, the Sigma will barely mention it, giving just a polite nod or small neutral comments as the friend explains why they still haven't paid it back. The friend might feel the need to go overboard with excuses. "Oh, my paycheck was late," or "I had this unexpected bill." And every new excuse just makes the story shakier. Meanwhile, the Sigma stays calm, lets them talk, and by the end of the conversation, he knows everything he needs to know. Number 4, using silence as a psychological weapon, the void of sound. When a Sigma male knows he's being lied to, one of his most potent tools is silence. But this isn't just any ordinary silence, it's a deliberate psychological weapon. The liar expects a reaction, whether it's anger, denial, or questions. But when the Sigma responds with nothing but cold, unsettling silence, it throws the liar completely off balance. It's like a void that demands to be filled, and the liar can't help but feel uncomfortable in the presence of it. In that moment of silence, the Sigma male is in full control. The liar's mind starts racing, trying to figure out what the silence means. Did the Sigma figure out the lie? Is he angry? Does he even care? The absence of any response becomes a pressure cooker for the liar. They start to overthink, and in that space of uncertainty, they usually make things worse for themselves. Most people aren't used to silence in tense situations. It's unsettling. And the Sigma knows this. That's why he uses it so effectively. This silence isn't passive. It's a calculated move. The Sigma is watching, waiting for the liar to react. And because the liar doesn't get the emotional response they expected, they often start talking again, scrambling to over-explain, justify, or shift the conversation. The Sigma lets them go on, because the more they speak, the more tangled their story becomes. The silence becomes almost like an invisible interrogation, forcing the liar to fill in the gaps with more and more lies, ultimately digging themselves deeper into a hole. What's brilliant about this approach is that it makes the liar feel as though they're the ones in control, at least at first. They might believe the Sigma is too stunned to respond or that he hasn't caught on yet, but the truth is, the Sigma male is calmly analyzing everything, using silence as a mirror, reflecting the lie back at the liar without saying a word. In this space, every nervous twitch, every faltering explanation is magnified. Take, for example, someone caught in a lie about their whereabouts. Instead of accusing them outright or asking for proof, the Sigma might just respond with a raised eyebrow and complete silence. The liar, expecting to defend themselves, is now left in this unsettling quiet. The tension rises as they wait for the Sigma to speak, but nothing comes. It's in that silence that the liar's confidence starts to crumble. They might begin to offer more unnecessary details, or their voice might get shaky, revealing their discomfort. The Sigma male doesn't need to do anything. The silence does the work for him. Number 5. Setting psychological traps. The mind game begins. When a Sigma male knows someone is lying to him, he doesn't just wait for the lie to fall apart on its own. He sets traps. These aren't obvious confrontations or aggressive challenges. They're subtle, psychological traps that push the liar into a corner without them even realizing it. The beauty of this strategy is that the Sigma male doesn't need to accuse anyone directly. Instead, he creates situations that expose the lie, slowly and methodically. The way it works is simple. The Sigma male will bring up the lie in casual conversation, but twist the context just enough to force the liar to either commit to their story or start backpedaling. It's all about building inconsistencies. He might ask questions that seem unrelated at first, but they're actually designed to poke holes in the liar's narrative. And because the liar doesn't know they're being tested, they often slip up. For example, if someone lied about meeting a friend for dinner, the Sigma might casually mention, "Oh, I heard that place was closed last night for renovations." He'll watch closely how the liar reacts. Do they double down, make up a new part of the story, or stumble over their words? It's not about catching them in the act, right then and there. It's about making the liar feel the pressure to maintain their story, which becomes harder the more detailed the conversation gets. Every small contradiction piles up until the entire story starts to fall apart. These psychological traps can also be as simple as circling back to a topic later, throwing in a detail that contradicts what the liar said earlier, but in such a subtle way that the liar doesn't realize they're walking into a trap. The Sigma male never seems confrontational, just curious. But with each question, each casual remark, he's closing in, giving the liar less and less room to maneuver. What makes this approach so effective is that it doesn't require an emotional response. The Sigma male stays calm and controlled, letting the liar do most of the work. He doesn't need to push for an immediate confession because he knows that, eventually, the lies will collapse under their own weight. And when that moment comes, it's not a heated showdown. It's a quiet realization that the liar has been caught in their own web, with no one to blame but themselves. In a more extreme example, imagine a coworker who has been lying about their contribution to a major project. The Sigma male won't accuse them in front of everyone. Instead, he'll set a trap by asking specific, seemingly harmless questions about the work in front of the team. "Oh, which part of the analysis did you focus on?" Or, "Can you walk us through how you handled the data?" The liar, now in the spotlight, has to navigate these questions carefully. But as the Sigma's questions become more detailed, the liar might start to panic, offering vague or inconsistent answers. The trap is set, and soon everyone can see that their story doesn't hold up. By setting psychological traps, the Sigma male doesn't just expose the lie. He makes the liar reveal it themselves, which is far more powerful. There's no need for a big confrontation or dramatic reveal. The Sigma creates a situation where the truth becomes undeniable, and the liar's own actions lead them right into the trap. Number 6. Calculated confrontation, the cold surgical strike. When a Sigma male finally decides to confront someone about their lie, it's not the explosive showdown most people would expect. There's no shouting, no heated arguments. Instead, it's a precise, calculated strike, like a surgeon with a scalpel. The Sigma waits until the moment is just right, until every piece of information is gathered. And then, without warning, he calmly and methodically exposes the truth. What makes this kind of confrontation so powerful is that it's not fueled by emotion. There's no anger, no frustration, just cold, hard facts. The Sigma isn't interested in humiliating the liar. He's simply presenting the truth in a way that's undeniable. The liar, expecting a dramatic blow-up, is instead faced with a quiet, almost surgical dissection of their lies. And because the Sigma has been paying attention all along, he knows exactly how to approach it. Take, for example, someone lying about an important deadline at work. The Sigma male won't call them out the moment he suspects something is off. He'll gather all the details, emails, conversations, any evidence he needs. Then, when the time comes, he'll approach the liar calmly, maybe even with a slight smile, and say something like, "Hey, I just wanted to clear something up. You said the deadline was extended, right? But I checked with the client and they didn't mention anything about that. Can you explain what happened?" Notice how he phrases it as a question, giving the liar the opportunity to explain themselves. But by this point, the liar is backed into a corner. They know they've been caught, but the Sigma isn't giving them an emotional reaction to latch onto. There's no argument to be had because the facts are laid out so plainly. The liar is left stammering, trying to find an excuse that doesn't exist. This kind of confrontation isn't about proving dominance or winning an argument. It's about clarity and truth. The Sigma doesn't need the drama. He's already won the mental game long before the confrontation happens. He delivers the truth like a quiet bomb, leaving the liar scrambling to pick up the pieces of their story. A bit of humor in this situation. The Sigma probably won't even break a sweat while the liar is nervously trying to come up with an explanation. The Sigma might just be sitting there, cool as ever, mentally checking off a list of things he already knew they'd say. It's almost as if he's been watching a bad movie and now has to sit through the predictable ending. Number 7, the aftermath, the ghosting effect. When a Sigma male knows he's been lied to, his final move is often the most surprising. He might choose to do nothing at all. But this isn't a sign of defeat or ignorance, far from it. It's a conscious, calculated decision. The Sigma understands that not every lie deserves a confrontation, and sometimes allowing the lie to stand is the best strategy. This is the ultimate power move because the Sigma male is no longer reacting to the lie. He's controlling the narrative around it. By doing nothing, the Sigma shifts the dynamic entirely. The liar, expecting some kind of reaction, is left in limbo. They thought they got away with it, or maybe they were bracing for a showdown. But none of that comes. The Sigma male's silence and inaction become louder than any argument ever could. In this way, he leaves the liar tangled in their own web, knowing full well that the truth will eventually catch up to them. And when it does, the Sigma is already a step ahead, having decided from the start how he would handle it. This doesn't mean the Sigma is ignoring the situation. He's simply playing a longer game, one where he lets the liar's actions dictate their own consequences. He knows that lies have a way of unraveling on their own. Sometimes letting the lie linger in the air is more powerful than exposing it outright. It puts the responsibility back on the liar to either confess, correct, or continue down a path that only gets messier. In some cases, doing nothing also sends a message. The Sigma male's lack of response tells the liar that their deception was so insignificant, it wasn't even worth acknowledging. It's a subtle but sharp blow to the ego. The liar might have gone to great lengths to construct the lie, only to realize it didn't even make a dent. The Sigma, unbothered, moves forward as if the lie had no impact at all, leaving the liar to stew in their own insecurity. For example, imagine a friend who's lied about something small, like why they canceled plans at the last minute. The Sigma male already knows the real reason, but chooses to say nothing. Instead of calling them out or holding a grudge, he lets it slide. But in doing so, he also signals to that friend that their lie wasn't clever or important enough to warrant a response. It leaves the friend feeling off balance, maybe even a little guilty, realizing that their dishonesty wasn't worth the effort. In the grand scheme, doing nothing is often the most profound response. It shows that the Sigma male is not controlled by others' deceit or manipulation. He sees the lie for what it is, but refuses to let it alter his course. It's a quiet, unspoken acknowledgement that he's above the petty games, moving through life on his own terms, unshaken by the dishonesty of others. In the end, the Sigma male's power doesn't come from confronting every lie. It comes from knowing when a lie isn't even worth his time. If you found these insights into the Sigma male's mastery over deception as fascinating as we did, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Join our community to stay updated with more intriguing content that dives deep into the art of strategy, psychology, and personal power. Your support helps us bring you the best, so don't miss out. Subscribe now and be part of the conversation. Thanks for watching, gents. See you in the next video. Bye for now and God bless.